Bonjour, namaste, shalom. Thank you for joining us to talk about love and Valentine's Day in Indian culture and society. The idea for today's session came from Ms. Renu Kaul Verma, the founder CEO of Vitasta Publishing, who most of you know. She thought it would be timely, given the growing worldwide popularity of Valentine's Day, the new secular global celebration of love. I am looking forward to an engaging discussion around this topic today. We have 5 amazing guests. Sahana Singh, an alumnus of Delhi Technological University, is an engineer, author, and columnist. Her books on the educational heritage of India and educational practices in ancient India have been much appreciated. Nithin Sridhar is a practicing Hindu, author, and a public speaker who's authored 6 books. His first book, Musings on Hinduism, provided an overview of various aspects of Hindu philosophy, and his upcoming book is a commentary on Manu Smriti, a book that is often talked about, but few of us have actually read it. Meenakshi Kumar, a postgraduate in business management and a research scholar with Indira Gandhi National Open University in the Department of Gender and Development Studies. She's an author of many short stories and also written 2 books, including In the Game of Love, 1 Step Forward, 2 Steps Back. Sangita Malhan is a pilot turned journalist turned author who teaches French and Spanish. When I read her brief profile, I was like, she has a lot of qualities. She has written 2 collections of short stories in English, a collection of poems in Urdu, and her book, The Toy Story, was awarded Best Book on the Media in Asia. And Shireen, a second-year student in political science and international relations at Ashoka University. At this young age, she's already written 2 books. So that's why I said distinguished, amazing guests. I welcome all of them, distinguished authors and our audience members today. In terms of format, I will start with some questions. Audience members can ask questions anytime by either raising their hand on Zoom or typing your questions in Zoom. With that, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the simplest question for the day, and after this, everything gets more difficult, which is, what did you do on Valentine's Day this year?
So who should start?
Sahana ji.
Okay. Well, I think I shouldn't start because I was at a conference in Bengaluru discussing Indian knowledge systems. So I didn't do anything for Valentine's Day and I don't really care much about it. Yeah, that's it.
Nithin ji?
I think I'll have to repeat the answer in the sense that Valentine's Day makes no sense to me. It has no importance in my life. That does not mean to say that love does not have any importance to me. Only the day does not have any
frozen.
Importance. Yeah. Am I frozen?
No, it's okay at my end.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the day went as usual. I did not even notice it, perhaps till it was late night. So yeah, I want to, and my conversation today will be that nuanced distinction between Valentine's Day and love. We need to distinguish between the two, and hope I get a chance more to elaborate more on it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Meenakshi ji?
First of all, let me first thank you, and that I got the honor of sharing platform with such eminent authors, and of course, a wonderful host that you are. Valentine's Day, as everybody said, it just meant another day for me. It was nothing special because now we are in the stage of life, and these things are like a normal affair, sort of. So nothing special.
Okay, wonderful. Sangita ji?
But हमारे जो friends का group है, we have a small group of friends. One of them has their anniversary on 14th February. So per force, by chance, it's a quirk of fate. So one person celebrated the other person's anniversary at his place, and the third party, us, we turned up. The important thing is to have food, sing a lot of songs, dance, laugh a lot, and discuss, talk about intimate conversations. How are you? How are you really? How are you? That kind of an interaction. So the way became, the day kind of vindicated itself. It doesn't really have to be this rosy-eyed concept of a Valentine, but the day became useful. Value nikal aa gaya. There was value in that day. And it turned out to be the 14th of February also. So it was good.
Wonderful. Shireen, now the spotlight is on you.
Okay, so I was on a campus which was blooming with love on 14th February. Like it was a campus where everybody was celebrating. There were a lot of clubs and societies doing different events. There were like a lot of songs going on, a lot of stalls of things like selling flowers, selling like brooches and like all of that. I had a normal day of classes, and then after that in the evening, a group of my female friends, we had a Galentine's Day rather, like so we ordered dinner in from Swiggy, and then we watched a movie, and then we just went out for coffee. So I think it was a good day to just celebrate with your friends.
Wonderful. So we'll keep the same order, and I promise only my next question is about Valentine's Day again, and then we'll move to other questions. I promise this will not be a conversation about Valentine's Day. Many people see Valentine's Day as, quote, corrupting influence on Indian youth coming to us from what they see as morally corrupt West. Your thoughts on this issue? Sahana ji? Sahana ji, you are muted.
Sorry. Yeah, so basically I see Valentine's Day as a kind of a manufactured festival based on a non-existent or a contrived Christian saint. And, it's so in that sense, I don't give much importance to it. But I don't, the way I look at it is not really in terms of morally corrupting, but more as a foolish pandering to the Western marketing and branding exercise. That's how I see it. So, the most ancient civilization in the world, which has so much literature and culture on centered on love, the fact that, instead of us setting the trends based on all our literature and our culture, you're just swallowing this empty marketing exercise. That's the way I look at it. But I don't think of, I don't feel like, it should be stopped or something like that, forcibly, you need to stop, put a halt to all the celebrations that people are doing. I don't want to do that, but I just want that we should be raising awareness about it. So it's not morally corrupting, but more of a foolish pandering that I look at it as.
Wonderful. That's a nice way of describing it, foolish pandering. Other thoughts?
I think, of course, I tend to agree with Sahana ji on the issue, but I would like to add some things here that the issue with the Valentine's is, of course, the theological issue that she highlighted about how this so-called Saint Valentine and the historical aspect of that issue is very murky, and most importantly, it has no connection to India or Indians or anything in any way, historically, culturally. And it is not that we don't have our share of love stories or our share of festivals celebrating love. In fact, yesterday was a festival celebrating love. We had a Mahashivratri, which is the finest love story you will ever find of Parvati and Shiva. So we have n number of festivals. We have a Holi coming up, which was celebrated at one point of time, just even few decades back, as Kamotsava, the festival celebrating love, as Vasantotsava, a festival of spring. So I think the problem, my issue with Valentine's Day is that it is, first of all, a manufactured one, and there is a commercialization aspect which is very, very problematic, because it tries to commercialize, marketize the love, so to speak, and it promotes a particular form of love as the ideal, and that is a deeper problematic as far as I see, because in Indian cultural conception, we see that marriage is considered as a important or the most important expression of love. So that is how we celebrate Mahashivratri. We celebrate, the love of our deities. So marriage is that expression. So it is not that we do not have stories of love before marriage or outside. It's not like that. But marriage is one of the most core institution, and the love expressed through that, or marriage is the culmination of the love, is seen as a desirable outcome and as part of the pursuit of kama or desire as a purushartha. But this Valentine's Day is a celebration of love which deconnects the love from this purushartha aspect, deconnects love from this institution of marriage, and it kind of marketize it. It works on, basically it's pandering, as she said, and as Sahana said. And I also don't. I see this all this violent ways of shutting down as what should I say? It's a boomerang. It does not work because it pushes more and more people to consider Valentine's Day as something good, something ideal, something to be something to be embraced. I think what will work is to revive our festivals, our stories about love. My friend Aditi Banerjee has recently come up with a book on Hindu love stories. So that is a positive way of doing it. I think we should start celebrating love our way. Then all this phenomenon of marketization, commercialization will drop off on its own with time, is my strong belief. Yeah.
Wonderful. I look forward to getting and reading the book on Hindu love stories. But Meenakshi ji, I think you're next.
For me, like Valentine's Day, like it's like ending of winter season and starting of spring season. So we're celebrating the season, the beautiful surroundings and the ambience and everything. And even our Hindu tradition, we have all the festivals coming in the spring season. As Nithinji rightly said, we had Mahashivratri yesterday. We'll have Holi. And love as, if we just try to confine it to that erotic concept of love, I think that is something that I feel it's not right. And every culture has its uniqueness. So if some culture is celebrating a day to mark love, the festival of love, and then because of the globalization, everything, it's like seen elsewhere also, the marks of it, the presence of it. So we should, of course, it's not that we should fall into the way somebody is doing it. We should have our own uniqueness of celebrating our festival, our manifestations of love. But then it's a cultural outcome this day. So in West, for whatever reason they started the festival, or maybe the as Sahana ji mentioned that it's starting was like because of a saint or something. So maybe that could be the way it started. But then we also have a genesis of our festivals, and all festivals, the idea is that we spread love. And the acts of vandalism and protesting and harassing individuals, that is not the right way of stopping somebody from doing it. It's like everybody should have their way to show their feelings, but then there has to be a limit to the obscenity and other aspects of it. So when we confine love to just eroticism, or just the basic aspect of it, that is the karma aspect of it, as Nithinji said, then yes, it spoils our culture, because love in Indian culture is very pervasive, and it's like in the Hindu, as per Hindu philosophy of love, we have the karma is the first stage. Then we have other stages coming up. When we have mother's love, then we have love for soul, when we have love for God. So these are all forms of love. So, but just confining love to just one aspect of eroticism is something that I don't feel is quite right. And then celebration of culture is another aspect to it. But we should stick to celebrating our culture in the way we want, but then we should not outrightly kind of vandalize others' way of expressing things.
Wonderful. Sangita ji?
Anji, so 2 or 3 points come to my mind. One, the dominating culture of the century or the decade tends to infiltrate, weaker, smaller, in terms of resources, not culturally, nations. So if China were the dominating culture, ideology in the world today, Chinese culture would have come into India as well, since America dominates. In the 90s, it started. 2000, we didn't give in so much to the concept of the red heart for one day, 24 hours ka red heart. But my son, who's 25 now, not anymore, he has transcended the concept also. But in the 16 to 20 period, that generation, born in the mid-90s up to the mid-20s, 2000s, they did buy into the concept of love. The Western concept of love. Anything the West sent you, you followed blindly. My point is, let's give love a chance, even if it is just for one day, and let's appropriate it back. Let's claim it back, like yoga went out. We are now trying to reclaim yoga. Similarly, let's reclaim love. It's an Indian concept from Khajuraho, from the Gathas, the Saptashati, written in the 1st century, between 1st and the 6th century, 640, I think, a series of 700 lyrical poems, erotic, sensual, sensitive poems, attributed, some of them are attributed, 44, I think, are attributed to Satvahana Hala, King Satvahana of the Satvahana dynasty. Poems written by women from the woman's point of view. So India is the land of extreme permissiveness, that period. And then, of course, you have the Turks and the Mughals and the British, Victorian. No. In India, you have the concept of Basant. My point is, February Basant, February Valentines, the Sufis, love in that sense. The love between Amir Khusrau and Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, Shap Tilak Sab Chheen Li, Mose Naina Milai Ke. How beautiful is that? The concept of Basant has existed in this country for a long time, for several centuries. Our concept of love can, we push Basant again, into the forefront. So we can have Basant Panchami along with Valentine's. It doesn't have to be a limited concept coming down from X, Y, Z. We have an inbuilt Kalpavriksha of Prem. We have a huge pantheon which talks about Prem. We have so much literature. Kalidas has written beautifully. And of course, even the Atharva Ved has a separate poem on love, which I will read at a later point during the conversation. My point is, let's give love a chance. Let's keep it rooted and authentic. Let us not blindly follow any culture. If there's something good about a certain culture, certainly follow it. Do the right thing. Love should always be given a chance over hate. The Ukraine-Russia story is going to touch 1 year now. So we do know, that love should reign instead of hate. The whole world knows that. So love should be given a chance, not by really blindly following anyone and everyone. We have our own indigenous, streams, festivals, patterns, ecosystem of love in this country. Mahashivratri, Basant Panchami, Holi, all the harvest festivals in April, Savan, going on to Ganesh Chaturthi, Janmashtami, Diwali, Deepavali. We have festivals for every season in the country. Our youth, and we also, some of us, we also don't know everything. We have to push it back into the forefront. I do not like being very defensive. That shows I'm not confident about my own strength, heritage, culture. I'm strong, but this has to come into narration. It has to come up front. Keep talking about India as well in India. And let the West also come in, the East come in, whatever influences. That's my take.
Wonderful, Shireen. So I guess we are back to you, but with the additional sort of qualifier here, you've all heard our more senior sort of authors describe the Indic conception of love. So in addition to answering my question, can you tell us how the youth sort of thinks about this issue of Valentine's Day, corrupting influence, and the Indian long tradition that the senior authors described?
I have a few points on it. Most of them I don't think are very coherently interconnected, but nevertheless. Firstly, do I think Valentine's Day is problematic or is it an issue? When I speak on behalf of Gen Z, no. Do I think that we have, sort of absorbed Western culture? Yes. Do I think there's a reason that the Gen Z in particular has, absorbed that culture? Very much. And I think it's not limited to Valentine's Day in itself. The fact that, most of us write in English, the fact that most of us do our daily communication in English. I think the issue of absorbing Western culture is much more, Valentine's Day is like a ripple effect of it. It's not like Valentine's Day as the idea of love has morally corrupted and taken over the Indian tradition. It's more like, as a whole, in terms of how we see the world, globalization has made us more Western in some sense. I personally am not a very big fan of Valentine's Day, but like, do I feel that people I grow up with or people I hang out with, they are? Yes, definitely. And I feel like it's much more to do with the way it's presented. Like if you look at popular culture, if you look at a lot of books we read, a lot of movies we grow up with, it's the way love is portrayed, which I think has become very Western. And I'm not necessarily familiar with the Indian portrayal of love, which says something about our generation, I would say, and I mean, I'm not sure who's at fault here, and I'm not even sure if there's a mistake here, but there is, I think, a visible difference in the ways in which maybe our parents or our grandparents see love and Valentine's Day, and the way our generation and our future generations are going to see Valentine's Day. So I think there has to be a balance, probably, like with Western culture and like sort of making it more Indian. And also, I think it's not about West or India. It's more like you celebrating love in a way that you feel is authentic and real. So for me, maybe expressing love is watching a movie with my friends. Maybe for somebody else, it's like a trip to somewhere, or it's like a big gesture of a proposal or something else. So I think it's more of an individual choice than a cultural celebration. I'm not sure, but also I think talking about other kinds of love, there's a day for every one of them. Like, there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, there's Friendship Day, Sister Day, you name it, there's a day for it. And I feel like all the time it's just Valentine's Day which comes into question. Like you don't have a discussion discussing, should we celebrate Mother's Day or not? Because mother's love is seen, West or India, it's seen eternal and like all pervasive. But when it comes to this specific kind of love which has attraction involved in it, it becomes sort of problematic. And as a Gen Z person who's not really aware of what the Indian context of it is, I'm more curious than, having an answer for it. So yeah, personally, I don't think it's problematic. But I do think that it's some sort of a capitalist, manifestation, or, buy this, do this. There's a lot of pressure to, celebrate love on this day. Like why only on 14th February? So, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that has consistently come up sort of is Western, which of course in today's world means Americanized, right? So if there's Cuba in the West, and there's, Dominican Republic in the West, and there's, other countries in the West that people have never heard about. And of course it becomes like Americanized, but I think that's a separate discussion for another day. So let's go with my next question. What does love mean to you? And I know, the first few speakers talked about sort of the Indian conception of love. And then Shireen also brought up how that Indian conception of love seems to be missing from the knowledge bank of the Gen Z or the young generation today. So what does love mean to you, and why is there this sort of gap among the youth? I think Sangita ji also alluded to it earlier. So Sahana ji, what does love mean to you?
So love means a lot of things to me. And I think I find that limitation in the English language, that there's only one word, love. But when I think about Sanskrit or Indian languages, then there are so many words for love. You have sneha, prema, kama, rati, like this vatsalya, even bhakti itself. Bhakti is the ultimate form of love. So you have so many words for love. So love for me means all these Sanskrit words, the whole range of it. So in the beginning, when I was not too well versed with our own culture, so that time I looked at love in terms of, okay, attraction, understanding each other, sense of humor. I don't know what all I used to call, love means all these things. But now as I've gone deeper and deeper into the culture, I came to a realization, which is exactly what I found in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, and that for me was what love is. Because he says to his wife that when you love me, it's not for my sake, it's for your sake. And when a husband loves his wife, it's not for her sake, but for his sake. Basically, what he was trying to say is that when we love somebody, we love the self. So it's that love comes, so it's loving myself, basically. So when a wife loves the husband, she's loving the self, which is the same as the self within her. So, that recognition. So every kind of love is actually just that loving yourself, the self is the key word here. That is leading to every kind of love, whether it's between mother and daughter, father and son, friends. It's about understanding that self that we love, which leads to that love. So we both love that self, right? And so I feel like love is about loving that self and meditating on that self to, that is going to lead to the ultimate love towards the Paramatman or Bhakti. So that's what I'm seeing love as now. It's basically recognizing that the other is you. That is the true meaning of love for me.
Okay. Nithinji, do you want to add anything to your previous answer about what is love?
Yes. But before I go ahead and share some thoughts on what is love to me, I would like to add few points about what Shireen raised, some important issues that she raised. I see that this celebration of, she's right that we only point out Valentine's Day, but we should rightly point out all these new celebrations, so to speak, Mother's Day, Father's Day, this day, that day. I think this is bed chal, the herd mentality. So you see somebody doing, and the secularized Hindu in India, they say, what the heck, let me also do it because it's cool. So, but we are a civilization who say Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. So that should be celebrated every day. It's not limited to one day. So the issue is actually that because of long 1000 years of colonization of Indian mind, the Islamic followed by the European, uh, the balance of purusharthas, the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that balance was lost. So when a society is completely under oppression, you cannot preserve everything. You cannot have a fullness of life. So the kind of life you see as described in classical texts, in classical Sanskrit poetries, in texts such as Kama Sutra, in texts such as Dharmashastras, that balanced way. For example, Kama Sutra starts with dharmartha kamebhyo namaha, salutations to dharma, artha, kama. So that balance was broken. So because of that imbalance caused in the society, there was a when this marketization and introduction of Valentine's Day happened, it happened in such a broken society wherein there is imbalance, and they saw a market opportunity to promote a particular kind of love. So, so it started with that's how the Valentine's Day adoption started, I would say. So there is one aspect is marketization, one aspect is the opportunity, the conditions, cultural conditions of the civilization, which makes one to adopt, and then this herd mentality started. So now it is only now that we are trying to recover our drishti in the sense of things, that we are now trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, trying to see what has what theological basis and why something is working and why something are problematic. Okay, so coming back to your second question, what does love mean to me? I think I would say that, and if I have to capture in one word, and that has to be in English, it is commitment. And the commitment, when I say, I'm using it in a very specific sense. For me, life is a commitment for throughout a life, and not just throughout a life, it has to be a commitment for over many lives. So it's a karmic bond, it's a rinana bandha, it's a bond that happens because of over many lives. That means that for me, when I speak of love, I speak of responsibilities, the grihastha dharma. That for me, the one term that really captures love is the notion of sahadharma and sahakama. You pursue life experiences together, and you do your duties, you do your responsibilities together. So doing and experiencing life, living the life, and experiencing the life together, this is my definition of love. This is my definition of marriage, and I don't see a difference between them. For me, love and marriage are synonymous. And if somebody speaks of love without marriage in the end, or without a notion of marriage, I think I believe that commitment is missing. So that is how I see it.
And Nithinji will come to that issue in just a minute after we go through the next speakers, but we'll come back to that issue. Meenakshi, I think you're next. And if you don't want to add anything, that's fine too. There's no pressure. I just want to make sure everyone on the panel gets an opportunity.
Okay, shall I start? Yeah. So love for me, it's an emotion, right? But it's very difficult to define love in a single sentence. So we can talk about manifestations of love. Like we have care and respect for each other. We can talk about feeling of trust. I mean, who you say that you love, I mean, you have that trust in your mind that yes, whatever may come in a situation you may be in, somebody is there to have your back. Similar dependability and a feeling of sacrifice. I mean, love gives you all these manifestations through which you, I mean, you can say that, yes, you love somebody. Otherwise, it's a very deep emotion. And when we talk literally in terms of Greek philosophers, I have here like they define love into various categories like eros love, agape, and philia, and storge, where storge refers to your familial love, love for the family. Similarly, as per Hindu philosophy, there are 5 stages of love. So first is kama, then we have Shringar, then we have Maitri, then we have Bhakti and Atman Prem. So what actually we have started to focus on is just the eroticism aspect of love, just the karma aspect of it. But when we move further on, we have deeper, I would say, deeper thoughts about love, deeper experiences of love. And in fact, love is something that binds the whole universe together. I mean, this whole nature, this whole continuity of civilization, it's all because of love. So let's say even for the planets, if you see the bonding, if you just put it in a simple word, you can call it, it's the love for each other's attraction that is keeping them together. Same come for human beings also. When we have a happy society, when we love each other, we have a happy society, we are harmonious. But the negative part of love comes as jealousy, hatred. So that gives you, the negative aspects of it, you start to experience. So love is very deep and very wide. So let's not restrict love to just one aspect of it, and that is your karma and eroticism. That's my take on this.
Sangita ji?
Anji, so tolerance and acceptance. When I was young, it meant a whole lot of things. It could be coming out of literature, poetry, films, which really dominate the mind when you're young. They impress you and they create their own visuals. They mislead you. But as you grow, every decade, your definition of love, it's so dynamic. It changes. Finally, when you reach I don't know, middle age, you realize about tolerance and acceptance. That's all. If I can tolerate and accept this entire panel, all the audience, the spectators, my city, my country, my dunya, my world, I am safe. Again, to go back to Russia, Ukraine. So if we are all part of the same stardust, if we are all the same, you and I, we're all siblings of destiny, as the Guru Granth Sahib says. Oh, siblings of destiny. That's how Guru Nanak writes. So we are siblings of destiny. That is love. You tolerate and accept one another truly. All your problems are over. That's it.
Wonderful. Shireen?
Okay, I'll try doing an interesting thing here and take a different idea of love. When I will talk about love, I mean it as love in form of attraction. Because, see, if I talk on behalf of Gen Z, we do not understand love. All right, we're running away from it as far as we can and as quickly as we can. When Nithinji talks of commitment, I think commitment is something that we as a generation are extremely afraid of. Like, and I personally feel that's extremely sad. But like, there's this very interesting saying that, we say to each other, which is like, if you're not dating to marry, then you're dating for heartbreak. So, but you're dating nevertheless. So, what I feel of it is like, the way I see it is like, love is not, I can say what love is not. Love is not give and take. Like, it's not that I'm going to do this for you because you will do this for me, but I will do this for you because I want to do this for you. Like, irrespective of the outcome, you are invested in that one thing. And to us, I think as college students, as the Gen Z, like you say, love means pain. Like, I don't think there's any very nice aspect of happiness involved in it. And like, I think happiness to us comes from probably other forms of love, like parental love, friend love, and but when you talk about attraction love, or maybe it's just my personal experience with me and my friends, but like, it's more about sacrifice, it's more about being vulnerable, it's more about being anxious about it. So when I think of love, at least in the form of attraction, the first thing that comes to my mind is not joy or elation. It's more like, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? Like, this is going to sort of distract me from, like, I don't know, my career, my happiness, and things like that. And I feel like for us, it's more like we're just running away, man. Like, we don't understand it. We wish to, but it's just changing so fast. And like, everybody has this different idea of what love is and what it should look like. And the whole concept of love is love, which is very beautiful. But at the end of the day, we don't really understand it. So I don't think it can be defined. So when you ask me what I mean love is, I would say I don't know what it means.
So we'll come to in a few minutes on sort of films and popular media and how they sort of shape our conception of love. But let's take sort of a different question for now. And this question is in the context of sort of couple relationships. So not, with parents, not with friends, but couple relationships. A fashionable trend in the world these days is live-in relationships, which seems inconsistent with all major world religions and traditions. As Nithinji said, it may also not have the component of commitment, which he said is very important in love, yet it is becoming widespread, including in India. What are your thoughts on this sort of new trend of live-in relationships? New, but pretty growing trend. Sahana ji?
I'm not sure if it's a new trend. I think it has been there for a long time. Nothing on earth is new. I'm sure you might find examples even from ancient times. But
interesting.
Yeah, probably. I mean, humans are humans. So living relationships, from my point of view, I don't feel comfortable with them because maybe because it's a generation problem, I'm not sure. But for me, it's like take as long as you want before you decide to marry somebody. But I don't think live-in relationship helps in any way to understand the person better. Because there will be, it's only after marriage you really know that person, things come out. You will not even know it during the live-in relationship. And the other thing is that I think that there'll be a lot of problems when you live together, because that whole feelings, that whole thing of commitment that Nithin was talking about. I feel like, you know, you need that. You need to take those vows during the marriage. And then I feel that everything, all the blessings are given to you by the elders, by everybody who comes there. And then I feel that that is the way to start living together. Maybe I'm too old fashioned here, because I feel that that actually then grows over time. I feel like a live-in relationship is probably not, it could break anytime, because that is the basis for it, right? That if I don't like you, I'm going to pack up my bags and go. So I can always walk away from this. That thing is there. And so you will not really be your whole full self. You'll not be really giving of yourself the way you would, I feel, if you are married. So maybe I think my views are not, probably would not resonate with the younger people. But live-in relationships are really not something that I would recommend for my daughter, for my friends, children, for anybody, because it will lead to a lot of pain. It will lead to a lot of hollowness within you. You're not going to feel filled up with love and happiness. You know, you're going to be insecure. You're going to be insecure because now, since there's no official bond, you don't, when your partner is not with you, you'll be wondering what that person is up to. But once you've taken that step of getting married, I feel that there'll be more trust and more happiness.
Nitinji?
Okay, I have many thoughts on this. The first and foremost, I see that uh, people have been doing what they want to do always. Then that has been there, but the problem, as I see it, with the narrative, the most issues I see it is with the narrative. Vivaha or marriage was always put as an ideal, as a ideal to aspire for, and it was an institution which has worked for a very long time. But currently, what is happening that the discourse is anti-family. The discourse is anti-family as a unit, anti-marriage as an institution, as a ritual. So the discourse is promotes for many reasons the live-in relationship, and I see that as per my understanding, the current format of live-in relationship, which is being adopted in urban areas of India, for example, and which is very widely prevalent in the Western countries, it has somewhere has to do with the breakdown of the traditional family system. You know, you don't have family support, you don't have parental support, you're living in a different city, you just want some company. But as Shireen pointed out, nowadays people are afraid of commitment because they are afraid of pain, etc. So they want to have a relationship which is easy to, without any which is full of all they perceive as the good of it, including sexual intimacy, emotional intimacy, but without any commitment, without having to put anything into the relationship. They can just derive everything out of their partners. You can say some may think like that. But the problem is that that perception itself is wrong. People don't really understand it unless you actually live through your life, because live-in relationship often, you know, there is actually no real commitment from both sides, neither at intimacy level, nor at an emotional level, nor at any level. There may be exceptions, of course. There may be real love, of course, in some cases, but the notion of live-in relationship is just that there is no commitment. Again, so I mentioned about Sahakama and Sahadharma, and this is the notion central to our understanding of Vivaha, which is about, we take a vow in the marriage saying that dharmecha, kamecha, arthecha. So basically, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, we pursue together. The notion of togetherness is there, that husband and wife, the woman and the man, they pursue life together. They pursue the challenges of life together, but also experience the happiness of life together. And it is not possible to live only happy without any pain. Even if you're living alone, you're living a lonely life, you will still have to face the pain and pleasure together in some form or the other, right? So this is a mechanism wherein you are committed to other person wholly. That is, if you fall, the other is there to support you. If they fall, you are there to support them. So this complete whole thing is missing. They want only the sahakama, they want only the pleasure part, but they don't want the dharma, sahadharma. They don't want the responsibility. So the very design of the live-in relationship is that it is bound to fail. because that is why many of these relationships are full of many issues, which may not be there in marriage. And of course, I have to add a caveat here: many modern marriages are namesake marriages, and they are no better than a living relationship, because they are not a marriages held in a meaningful manner. You have all sorts of people with all sorts of ideas, and every other day you are seeing that attack on Hindu ritualistic system, the marriage rituals, the because all these rituals are meaningful. They give a meaning. They have a sense of direction. But when you remove them, when you attack them, when you desacralize them, then your marriage, you may get it registered in a registrar office, or you may just do it whatever way you want, but it will no longer be vivaha in a complete sense. There is no purushartha aspect to it. It will just be another living relationship with another name, with no commitment. So I see that it's a problem of commitment, and I will not suggest it to anybody. And I think another issue of why this living relationship has come up is also, we should understand that in a pre-colonial society, the marriage ages of men and women was very less. Now, over the last 150 years, again, due to colonial narrative, colonial discourse, the ages have been continuously increased, and now there is a push to further increase the age of marriage. Now it has become very funny here. The age people can lose virginity at 14 or 15 years, but they can only marry at 20 plus years. They can vote and elect their leader at 18, but they have to wait till 21 or 22 years to marry. So it's getting ridiculous day by day, the kind of narrative that is there. So I think the live-in has also developed as a stopgap arrangement to people find where through which they can fulfill their sensual desires, or whatever it is, which the early marriage system used to take care of within the confines of the marriage, with very little repercussions, with very little personal repercussions, very little social repercussions. Now, since the system has drastically changed, so we have the issue of premarital pregnancies, abortions, so many other things have come into play. We won't go there because that is beyond the scope of the discussion. So I, as a whole, see this live-in relationship as some form of kind of problematic, but I see that there could be, as long as the couple involved is very clear that there needs to be a commitment, and the relationship eventually end in a marriage that would have that a goal. So it could be not an issue at a limited extent, at a case by case basis, because making any generalized comment is very difficult on these issues, because they are very nuanced, very sensitized. But as a ideal, I would not suggest this, as Sahana said, to my daughter or my friends or anybody, because I think that vivaha is more meaningful way to live. It is a more meaningful pursuit. If you have a very good partner with you, then there is nothing like that to pursue the dharma, artha, kama, moksha together. And dharma and moksha and artha also is missing from the live-in relationship. Even kama is compromised there. So it will not be a full life, is what I feel. Yeah.
Wonderful. Meenakshi, and I know both speakers said I would not recommend it to my daughters, but if anyone has sons, please talk about that too.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have a son, but again, I will not be in favor of this, because marriage is a commitment, and it's a deep commitment to be together in all circumstances. So you may be having ups in life, so you may enjoy life, but when we face downs in life, what then? So marriage is like, we have, as Sahana ji rightly said, we seek blessings of elders, we seek blessings of planets, the gods, and everything, so that a relationship continues. Two people from different backgrounds and different circumstances, different situations, they are coming together to take a decision that yes, they have to be together to be at each other's rescue in all circumstances. So it's a vow. It's a very deep vow. And so it, like we said, if like if you're ill or you're sick, or you're in a situation where you need somebody's attention. So when you are married and when you have a very, I mean, a reliable couple, I mean, your spouse, so he will be behind you for to take care of your needs. But in a live-in relationship, we are missing that vow. You know, it's all transient. The relationship is so transient, and that is giving a challenge to our family stability and the emotional say buffer that we used to have. We have actually, we are fortunate that we have grown up in the family system of to cater to our stress or say emotional traumas or depressions. It's all being taken care of by the family, and parents are the greatest support. And for children. So when you don't have the family, when you don't have families existing, then where do you find the support for your emotional distress? Like, this is what we are finding in West. I mean, family system has broken. You see, you have physical craving of food. Your physical craving of food and hunger. You can have food. You can have all the things to satisfy you. But what about your emotional cravings? Your need of love. So the family provides for that emotional craving of love and dependence. I mean, you may not have like when two people are together, you have different moods. Individuals are different. You facing all sort of your mood swings and everything. But then when it's a family, you know that it's not easy to part away. You have your like when you have an arranged marriage, then you have your families coming to your rescue. They will not let you drift apart. You have to be together, whether you fight or you do whatever. And after like that again is a phase of life. In everybody's life it happens. So after a phase, that phase is over, you again get back into the same kind of comfortable relationship. And then so children also, like the greatest sufferers in breaking of families is children. So Gen Z may not have come to that stage. They are in that stage when they are the young and vibrancy, and they're enjoying life to the fullest. And then today is the best time human beings are having in terms of enjoyment and all comforts and luxuries. But when they progress in life ahead, when they have when they when energies start to come down, then you need somebody's support as a buffer to cater to your vital needs of love and compassion and emotional trauma to handle that. So I think marriage is a great institution, and that is why we as a society, we are seeing that parents sacrificing for children looking after their parents. So all these are bound in kind of a responsibility, a network of relationship we have developed because of this institution. But this is what we're finding missing in West. And every next day you find some shooter going and shooting so many people for no reason at all. They have all the needs attended to. They have all food and all the basic needs are catered to by the government, but they're lacking a social institution of interaction with each other, time for each other. When somebody will take out their time to sit together and share one's views and your traumas and your depressions. So I think that marriage is a great institution, and I have a son, and I am looking for him a suitable girl so that he gets into a relationship, because nowadays it's difficult to find a person of that mindset also. So that's my take.
Sangita ji.
Acha, my case is a little tedious, thoda tightrope pe chal rahi hu main, because I never believed in the institution of marriage, but I'm happily married. I don't know how to explain it. I am totally for a live-in, and I don't understand the concept of marriage. I was very happy when I read about the Gujarat social contract theory, the 20-year marriage. In fact, when I wrote one of my old essays, I loved the Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir relationship in France. They lived together, the two great writers, Sartre with his novel and Simone de Beauvoir, Second Sex. So that didn't influence my. I naturally believe that the respect a gender can have for the other, and now a third gender, maybe a fourth, is fundamental to peace on earth. It doesn't matter contract that binds you because your family is fine with it, because society feels let's divide assets. For example, when you look at women as property. So I write about marriage as a contract between two men, the father and the husband. Chalo, mera property hai, tumhare hawale. That concept I never liked. I fell in love with my husband. My father fell in love with my mother in the 1960s. They had a love marriage. A man from Kerala, a journalist from married a woman working in Oberoi's from Punjab in the 60s in Delhi at the Oberoi's at a press conference or something. So we've gone to cover the conference. She was handling it. Anyway, so they had a love marriage. I've had a love marriage. My son is in. He's living in with his girl. I'm totally with. Whatever makes you comfortable. I have seen the collapse of marriages around me, my friends, my relatives. I've seen fakeness, I've seen pretension, I've seen compromise, I've seen marital domestic violence, and I've seen kids who are living in together, very committed, 5 years they've been together, looking up, full respect. The concept of being together should change. You don't have to be married just because of the pre-consideration earlier was safety. Iski security, iski safety, especially the woman. The female, is prey in that sense, and the predators have been after single prey. They've hunted her for years and years, since Egypt, since Greece. You write about Helen of Troy, hunted both sides. Paris also, Agamemnon, mythical, of course, but so much has happened. Even in the Indian myth, there are stories of women being attacked, and therefore, chalo iska shadi ho jana chahiye. That is a premise I do not accept. Why is it not? Of course, I have an idealistic, I'm looking at a utopian concept of my world is utopian, although it is dystopian. But I believe that if it is a world where all genders are safe, then it doesn't really matter if you're in a contract, if it is a fake contract. How many contracts, marriage is equal to contract in my opinion. How many contracts are completely fulfilling? This could be a live-in, this could be a marriage. My parents had a great life. I could have a good life. My lover / husband is upstairs. So I'm absolutely fine with either. I do not believe in any kind of bandish. What I don't like is the fakeness of any contract, whether it is between relatives or friends or associations, nations, in the workspace, between two energies. If it is fake, it doesn't work for me. In the long run, it just fizzles out. Then aap dikhawa kar rahe ho. It's a beautiful film that I intend to write and make one day about these couples who seem to have the perfect contract life, but unke andar ka jo khokhlapan of various degrees. That's my opinion. My husband and I are also great friends. We were both pilots. He's still a pilot for Air India. And I, of course, got a license and moved to writing. So we are also friends. We also sing together. We're also singers. So we have some things that bind us. इसलिए हमारा friendship, companionship ऐसे चल रहा है. It's beautiful. But I don't know whether I should be totally for marriage, anti-live-in. If the relationship can develop, evolve beautifully, I'm for it.
Okay, Shireen, now you.
Um, to begin with, I would say that, talking of Indian society and live-ins, I think our Indian society is a very adult-driven society, as in, nobody really listens to children. Like, it's like mostly, even like when it comes to decisions for marriage and everything, I say this with all like, I don't know, awareness, but it's more like the say of your mother or father at the end of the day, more often than not, is the final say. And that says something about the society. And when live in, more often than not, is the idea of the children. So I'm not sure how much acceptance it gets. But at the same time, I think the idea of marrying somebody you love is absolutely beautiful. It's like this wall that you can fall back on if something goes wrong. And being married to somebody, in my head, makes running away all the more difficult, which is a good thing. So I mean, I am all for the idea of marrying somebody you love, but when it comes to live-in relationships, I would say I'm a little too young to contemplate it. But secondly, I would say that if the idea of live-in personally is based on this idea of getting to know somebody you wish to marry one day better, then I think nothing better than it. Like, spending 1 hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour with somebody, you can still sort of get to know them, but living with them all day, that's when you know whether you want to be with this person or not. Like, you get to know their eating habits, their cleaning habits, like how they live. I think that's important, because if you say that marriage is an institution which should stand, then you should know what you're getting into, because it's very difficult to get out of it once you're in it. So I feel like you should know all your cards before you sort of, buy your way into the idea of marriage. But I feel like personally, this idea of live-in without the idea of marriage is also okay, because see, I think the main thing that the Gen Z propagates is that you do you. If whatever you're doing is not causing like harm to anybody, any third party involved, then you do whatever you want. Like, I mean, that's the whole idea of like live and let live. So I feel like live in relationship anyways is fine, because if you're not harming anybody else, then why not?
Okay, now we are short on time, and this question, it apparently, given the divergence of views, is something that we can spend a lot more time talking. But given in the interest of time, I want to sort of move us towards the end, which is, what is your most favorite Indian book or author who talks about love? And let's keep the answers short so we can finish. We don't want to be here for too long, although I'm enjoying the conversation. So what is your most favorite Indian book or author in terms of the idea of love? Sahana ji?
I think I'll have to talk about the epics themselves, because both Ramayana and Mahabharata are books on love for me. So when you look at Rama and Sita, there are so many descriptions of their love for each other, and how evocative it is, how beautiful it is. The whole thing, their marriage, they're spending time together in the forest, their separation, and how they are missing each other, and then the whole the war that is fought to bring Sita back. I mean, Ramayana is one of the most beautiful love stories that I have ever read, even though I've not read it completely in the original. But same way, I would say that about Mahabharata also has some amazing stories, love stories, Nala, Damayanti, Savitri and Satyavan. All these are amazing, beautiful stories. Then of course there is, I can't pick one. There is Shiva, Shiva Parvati. So a lot of these stories, and then their retellings. All of them are my favorite love stories.
Nithin ji?
Sanaji picked up two of my most favorite books, but I would add Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Krishna and Gopika, the whole thing, the Gopika Geetam is there, and the dalliances of Krishna with the Gopikas, and Jayadeva's Gita Govinda, again, another description of Krishna and Radha, Krishna and Gopis. We have Kumara Sambhamam of Kalidasa. But on modern authors, if I have to mention, I already mentioned Aditi Banerjee's Hindu love stories. It's a wonderful collection of love stories from various texts. So I would recommend that book for everybody who want to read a good Hindu love story.
Wonderful. Meenakshi ji. Meenakshi ji, you're muted, so I'm going to unmute you. Yeah. Meenakshi ji, we cannot hear you.
Yeah. I think now it's okay. Just a few days back, I read Vikram Seth's A Suitable Boy. So again, here I had a whole description of marriage, arranged marriage, and how the personal choices are balanced with the choice of the family and the whole process of looking for a suitable boy. And it was like at time of independence, this book happened. So it talks about all the situation during that time. So I like that book very much. It was a big voluminous reading, but then it's very interesting.
Wonderful. Sangita ji.
The scriptures definitely have most amazing descriptions of love and beauty. As I was saying, I read the Atharva Ved, and there is this poem on love, just a small verse, which says, Yatha vriksham libuja samantam parishasvaje, yeva parishvajasvamam. Embrace me completely, just as a creeper completely embraces a tree. What a beautiful description of love from the Atharva Ved. We obviously don't know which saint or rishi wrote it, compilations. So that scriptures are beautiful. Shakuntala, Nala Damayanti, I mean, everything is beautiful. Bhagavatam, Krishna's description, the Shiva Parvati consummation, conjugal bliss just after marriage that Kalidas writes about. It is brilliant. The Urdu poets in India, brilliant descriptions of love. So every century has had the miniature paintings in Kashmir and the Shekhawati drawings in Rajasthan. There's love, descriptions of love. So there are so many great writers in Bengali, Sarachandra Chattopadhyay, Tagore, Charulata. I mean, Marathi writers in Malayalam, Sangam literature, Tamil, the greatest descriptions, the most audacious descriptions of love and war. The most audacious. If you have a chance, you do read Sangam, unless you've already read it, Sangam literature, Tamil. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the Gatha Saptashati, the Kama Sutra just on one side of the spectrum and the Gatha Saptashati on the other. So there are just too many writers that I admire. From the scriptures, every century you can pick one. If I sit down to do a compilation and anthology, that's again, there are so many things to do, so many books to write. If I want to do a compilation, all of this is for my son, so that his generation can understand how rich India is as a heritage. And there is no other country, no other culture that can match ours, in spite of the largesse of Greece and Rome and Egypt and the Turks, but still, and China, of course, and Japan. But India has a huge collection that I would like to gift him one day. So yeah, if I sit down, then there is a long list, century, BC se AD tak, lambi journey.
And now I'm very curious to hear what Shireen says about this, because you've all talked about the rich heritage. And Shireen?
Well, there's obviously a very rich heritage, but when I think of my favorite love story, I don't think I have one, to be honest. Like, we're just disenchanted with love, honestly. Like, it's that thing of, in popular culture, the kind of books that you read nowadays in the Indian market, I don't feel like they capture the essence as much. Like, everyone has a different perspective to love. I think my favorite love story would probably be my own, or like my parents, or like a real love story, which I see with my eyes booming around me, would be my favorite, like a love story that I would root for. But as of now, I don't think I have one. No.
I think I'll have to write one for you, and you must be my son's
I,
age.
I do hope you come up with that anthology for our sake.
Well, and as we wait Sangita ji to come up with that anthology, I would again sort of repeat what Nithin ji said. There is a book on the love stories by Aditi Banerjee, and I am certainly curious to read that. Sangita ji, did you have a comment?
My point is, yes, I will also pick up that book. Yes, but digging into the literature of this country and codifying all of it in one collection, could be 20 volumes, That has to be done. Maybe the panel can be with me and Vitasta can do this with us, and we could come up with an anthology in 2 years.
On that note, I think this is a good time to stop. A very interesting topic. I learned a lot, I'll be honest with you. I have not read a lot of the things panelists here mentioned, so I'm going to be reading more. And thank you very much for your time. And hopefully our paths will cross again.
Thank you.
so
Thank you
It was
so
nice.
much.